Hello and welcome to a special edition of Three Kitchens, a home cooking podcast. I'm Erin Walker and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Heather Dyer.
Hi.
And Sarah Somasundaram.
Hi, mamas.
It's almost Mother's Day.
It is.
It is.
Do you guys expect anything special?
You know what? I think if I hadn't reminded my family that Mother's Day was coming up, perhaps not, but I have reminded them and I have told them what I want, which is a mahjong set, which I'm excited about.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's funny. And were they like, oh, what? It's Mother's Day? Like, were they surprised?
The kids were.
Mm.
The husband, I think, had the surprise in his eyes, but his voice and words hit the surprise. So I'm not falling for it, but that doesn't matter. I'm not calling him out. I just want my mahjong set and I want a day off on Sunday. So
Nice.
as long as that works out for me. How about you ladies? Any plans?
I mean, it's kind of silly, but sometimes I like to plant my garden on Mother's Day.
There you go.
And then I have the whole day to just be outside and I get to be in the garden and I don't have to make anyone lunch. And that makes me the happiest.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. No, that's not silly at all. That sounds kind of dreamy.
And I like getting my garden ready and, it's
Mhm.
just like a little bit of peace and calm.
Yeah.
And usually they
Yeah.
come and help me dig holes and plant seeds and, in and out. But yeah, I always love just having some time to be around, but not doing the mothering.
Yeah. Sounds
Yes.
amazing. Sounds
Yes.
amazing.
Isn't that what we all want?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a break from the mothering
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Right? If they want a snack or if they have an issue, go to the other parent.
Yeah.
Today
Yeah.
is not the day for that.
Yeah.
Erin, you reminded me of it, but I don't even remember when it was, I got this card from one of them
Oh, yes.
and it was like, to mom. And it had this nice picture drawn on it. And inside it says, I love my dog so much because she plays with me.
Was it not like a card with a handprint on it, and like a poem to mothers or something?
It was a thing he did at school.
It was specific to Mother's Day, I think.
Yeah. In grade 1, I think, or I don't even remember when it was, but I was like, well, this isn't really a note to me. This is like a love letter to the dog.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe it was a thanks, Mom, for getting the dog, whom I love
Maybe.
so much.
I'm gonna say that's a generous thought.
I remember you like looked at it at the schoolyard and then you turned it over and you were like, this is for the dog. And he like said something cute and was like,
He says, well, I love you and the dog. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
nice try. Like, okay, thanks. But I
thought
did
that was
find when I was putting away some dishes, I found a very poorly hidden lemon pie, like lemon meringue pie mix, the sheriff box, which is totally good. I don't have anything against the lemon pie mix, but I found it in the cupboard. And so I happened to mention to my husband, you need eggs. We happen to be out of eggs. And he's like, but that was supposed to be hidden. Why are you snooping around and whatever? And I'm like, I just saw it and I'm trying to help you out here because you're going to get to making it and realize you have no eggs.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
just saying.
See what we do? We have to make our Mother's Day work.
Yeah.
We have to. We work at not having to work for just one day.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's true.
So speaking of work in the kitchens, we've got a special episode.
We made something that is a little bit of a break from our normal structure, but it goes through some of the fails and funnies that we've had in the kitchen that have given all of us a good laugh. And we hope that you laugh along with us.
Yeah.
I think they will. And happy Mother's Day.
Oh,
Happy Mother's Day.
happy Mother's Day. We can't even remember to say it to ourselves.
Yeah. I can start us off. I've got
Okay.
a little story about sugar cookies. So at Christmas, I had this idea because I followed these cookiers, which is it's a term for a professional cookie baker, decorator person.
I had no idea. Cookiers.
Yeah. Cookier.
Oh,
I follow them on Instagram and I look on Pinterest because I love those decorated cookies. You know, over the past few years, I've done an okay job with some of them. Like I can do a reasonable flooded sugar cookie.
I think you make some beautiful cookies. I've seen some of the stuff that you've produced in the past with some of the leaves that you make in the fall.
The fall leaves. Yes, that's the
really
one
like
that comes to
those.
my mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So I see these cookies like around just leading up to Christmas when I'm starting to think about baking and I'm like, what am I going to make at Christmas? And I see people stamping on sugar cookies or using a stencil to get like a design or words, you know, like a rubber stamp that
Okay.
says happy holidays. And I'm like, that looks easy. Like, why couldn't I
Yeah.
do that?
That sounds simple.
Yeah, you'd think. So I start looking at tutorials. I read all these blogs that see how to do it, and it looks really easy. And this seems to be a theme with us that we see these people who do these things and we think it looks
Yes.
easy. And then we find out perhaps it's not. So I bought these rubber stamps from Michael's that say like happy holidays and ho, 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 or whatever. And then I got some little cookie stencils, like they're specifically made to fit on like a round cookie. It's a stencil. You use food coloring, maybe watered down a little bit.
Are they sticky? Do they stick to the cookie, or are they
No.
just like a...
The ones that I got do not stick, although I believe you can get ones that do.
Okay.
And perhaps that might have worked better. But
Oh.
even the stamps, like you get a rubber stamp and you basically make like either paint right onto the stamp and put it on your cookie, or you can
Oh.
make kind of like an ink pad using paper towels folded up and like the food coloring on it. I'm thinking easy. So the first problem I had was that these people use royal icing. And if you're
Okay.
familiar with royal icing, it's that hard, it dries like hard and stiff, like you put together a gingerbread house.
Mhm.
That's the only time I use that icing because it is like a rock.
Yeah, when it dry, I don't really like to eat it. I'm not a
No.
big fan of it on a cookie, but I can see why it's used because it does typically have a smoother surface and it looks really
Yes.
kind of professional and polished. So I'm like, okay, I can do royal icing. So I get the meringue powder and the whole.
Oh, how do you make your royal icing? Because you just said meringue powder and I don't use meringue powder.
You make it from scratch, don't you, Erin?
I just use egg white.
What did I say about Erin?
You can also just use egg whites, but I followed a recipe that had meringue powder, which is I assume is like a powdered egg white.
Do you have a hard time finding it? The only reason I do this by scratch is not because I'm some loony bin. I could not find meringue
Sorry.
powder.
I ordered it online. I ordered it from Amazon, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
So
there you go.
I'm pretty sure I was at the grocery store at the 11th hour. My kids wanted to make gingerbread houses and I
Mhm.
couldn't find this flippin' meringue powder. So then I was, how else can I make royal icing? Because the first recipe I came across, said meringue powder. So then I had to go to the next one. I was like, oh, good. I can make it with just egg whites. I'll go that direction. And I
Yes.
left the meringue powder in the dust.
And I'm sure they both produce the same icing.
I'm sure.
So I follow the tutorials. The first time was very lumpy. I did not get a nice smooth cookie. I'm like, okay, well that did not work. And I think I even gave you guys some of those cookies.
Yes.
Possibly. I
Yes.
put them in the freezer and then I was like, I pulled them out. Here, you guys take these. So I tried it again and I got the right consistency and I flooded my cookie and I thought, ooh, this looks good. It's flat. It's smooth. There's no like air bubbles. I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, this is going to work. I'm going
Ooh.
to stamp. I'm going to stencil. It's going to look just as cool as these cookiers. But no, I don't know why it is so hard to get that royal icing flat, like completely flat. I think the cookie itself needs to be absolutely perfect. Then the icing needs to be absolutely perfect because you know what a stamp does if you press it down on something that's got bumps in it. So you get like happy holidays missing like 7 letters out of it. It doesn't have the effect you want. It's just a fail. But even the kids, like when I was like, here, just eat these cookies. And they're like, why does it look so weird? It's missing letters. Like, because it's not flat. I thought it was flat.
Mom doesn't know how to spell.
They tasted good though. They
Yeah.
tasted great.
They tasted okay. but I don't like the royal icing. And the only
Right.
reason to use it would be to get the visual of it, like the nice decoration that I wanted. And because
Mhm.
that didn't work, I would just go back to using icing, sugar, and milk the way that I had been taught. My friend Chandra years ago taught me how to make cookies. She makes amazing cookies. And I just used that to flood cookies. And I would just go back to that because the royal icing was not worth it. And now I have, so now I have stamps. I have special brushes, like little
Oh,
paint brushes that were intended just for cookies. And I have stencils.
I'm not the only one who has strange tools now in my kitchen.
I'm quite sure I'm not going to attempt this again. I just really don't care.
Oh, you've got to try it one more time.
Well, ask me when Christmas comes around
Yeah,
again. I might
Christmas.
change my mind.
There you go.
Why
Yeah.
couldn't you have just, instead of using the stamp, just sort of painted it on using the stencil? So sort of,
So the stencil I found, maybe it was because it wasn't the one that sticks like adhesive. It bled all around all the edges.
oh, okay.
And it didn't look sharp.
You know what you have to invest in, Heather, is you have to invest in one of those food airbrushes that all of the professional cake makers have.
I remember we had this conversation because I was like, wouldn't that be cool to have one of those like airbrush things?
What if you just like dipped a toothbrush in food coloring and then, you know, like run your thumb on it and make
Spray
it
it?
Flick
spray?
it.
You know, that would probably look really cool, but it's not quite what I was going for. You know, there's all kinds of things. Maybe by Christmas time, I'll have a renewed interest, enthusiasm.
Put that away till then.
Not yet.
Did you try it at all on your sugar icing that you talked about, like your normal milk and sugar?
I did not because I'm quite sure that doesn't get flat enough.
Mm,
It's not a perfect flood the same way, but I mean, I could
yeah.
try it. It's also softer. It doesn't get that same hard shell that the royal icing does. So I'm not sure it would hold up to a stamp or a stencil, but I could try it maybe.
I have to admit, I like your regular cookies much better than the royal icing ones because the
Mhm.
royal icing was thick and hard. But that's
Yeah.
like that's what royal icing is. That's what you're getting. So
Yeah, I agree. It's not awesome. I really was only doing it because it would look cool.
Pinterest and Instagram have lied to us yet again.
You know what? Those professional cookiers have figured it out and that's why they can sell their cookies because they're really good at it and they know what they're doing.
That's when you buy one of those food spray gun things. That's when you can sell them.
Yeah, exactly. $5 a cookie or whatever it is. Erin, what have you got for us?
So mine is I was not looking at Instagram. This is a way back in time fail. So I was at the grocery store picking out my vegetables and I had noticed that they had lychees. Somebody please correct me right away.
I grew up saying lychees, but I think some people say lychees.
I thought it was a nut.
Sometimes I call it a nut. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Sarah laughs at us for calling it a nut because it's not. It's a fruit.
It's not a nut.
When you told me that you had bought lychee nuts from the store, I went, what is a lychee nut? You know,
It's a lychee fruit.
So I knew this was going to be a fail from the first moment that I tried to speak about it.
stop.
I thought, I have no idea what to do with this, but I'll pick some up and try them. The kids always like discovering new fruits and maybe I can make something with them. And so I picked them up and put them in my cart and kind of thought about them as I was wandering through the grocery aisles. And unfortunately, thought about them while I was reading my 1968 edition of Chatelain's Adventures in Cooking.
Oh,
Mm.
adventurous.
Adventures in
Nice.
Cooking from 1968. This is a step back in time to a lot of really different and strange recipes.
Were they jellied?
This is exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like some of those jelly
I like
things.
some of those jellies. I mean, some of the fruit salad jellies are really good. I think Sarah was afraid of these things when we spoke of them because Heather and I were sharing memories about a carrot and
Yeah.
jello salad.
sunshine salad.
Yes,
Remember,
Yeah.
I made it for a party at your house one
it was
time.
You did.
delicious.
It was good.
Sarah did try it despite being
Freaked out.
I remember my parents making things like that when we went over to other people's
Mhm.
houses, but I never ate
Exactly.
them, right? Yeah,
Oh.
I just, no.
it was the fancy parent stuff.
Yeah, it was the fancy parent stuff.
You got chicken nuggets or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Something I wouldn't eat now. Yeah.
So this is my mindset when this fail began. I have these lychees or lychees or lychee nuts or lychee fruits.
The fruit.
I have this fruit. I've cracked it open and tasted it, and it's a very strong taste, a very sweet taste. And I was like, oh, what to do with this? So as I'm reading about all these things that you can make in jelly, and I mean, it's not just fruit salad. They have this beautiful thing called bouffe en gelée. I'm going to just stop there. There's also a picture. You don't want to hear what's in this recipe, and you don't want to picture it. Trust me.
Oh my.
Anything en gelée is gonna be like
I mean, you know, when you leave out the pan that you cook your meat in overnight because you don't do your dishes, that weird jelly in it, that's what I would call bouffe en gelée.
Oh no.
Yes,
So
because
wrong.
that is exactly what it was. It was like a beef like consomme but jellied, and then they put other like salad in it.
Oh, consomme with a clove of garlic, bay leaf, carrots, onion rings. Oh, sliced roast beef goes in there too.
Yep.
No,
Some chopped fresh parsley.
Nasty shit. It's basically what it is.
So it's spinning around in my head as I'm also wondering about these lychees. And I think, oh, you know what might be kind of good is if I made like a lychee jello. Am I saying it right again? Lychees?
Doesn't matter. Lychees is good. Lychees works.
I have forgotten.
Just don't call it a nut.
Just don't say nut. Okay. I think I'm going to make this jello, and I think to myself, "Ooh, I have some gelatin powder, and I have a can of Sprite."
Oh, okay.
And I think like, "Oh, I've seen pops that are lychee flavored. It would be like a lychee flavored pop jelly." Jellos should be banned.
Listen, it doesn't sound terrible when you think of Sprite, because Sprite is sweet, and then you're putting a fruit into it.
Yeah.
It sounds good. It sounds fine.
I thought it sounded good. And then I made the gelatin with the Sprite, and all just went downhill from there.
Oh no.
I dumped it in, I mixed it all up. I realized that I did not stop and look at the instructions on the gelatin package. I can't tell you right now what I messed up, but I definitely messed up like the first 3 out of 4 steps. There were a bunch of steps I didn't follow. So step 1, read the instructions. I totally screwed up making the gelatin powder. Because I was like, oh, gelatin powder, I'm sure it's just like Jell-O. And I don't read the instructions. I make it like you make a Jell-O. Wrong. So my gelatin is all like thick and sticking to the outside of my bowl as I'm trying to make the jelly. And I'm like, this isn't right. But I'm already this far in, and I'm like, well, I'm sure it'll be okay. So I dump it. It's all lumpy. Just to give you a sense of gross. I dump my lumpy Jell-O mix. Over top of my fruit and put it in the fridge and think, well, maybe this will work.
Oh dear.
The fridge will fix it.
Oh boy.
So I take it out at dinner time, and
how's it looking?
It doesn't look great. And
don't you find though that gelatin, or even just Jell-O from a mix, takes a lot longer to set than you think it's going to take?
Yeah. And then I thought, oh, I'll be fancy, like these fancy pictures that I've seen in my 1968 Chatelaine. I have this dream in my head that I am going to dump this Jell-O out and make it like a Jell-O platter.
Yeah.
Did you put it in like one of those bundt pans or something?
No, it is only just in a cake tin.
Oh, okay.
I think, how do I release it? So then I fill up a sink with hot water, and I'm dipping the pan in to try and melt the Jell-O on the outside so that it loosens. Yeah. Like I remember my mom doing this with Jell-O molds as a kid. Like put your Jell-O mold into the hot water.
With her bouffe gelée.
It was not a bouffe gelée, but it was something green.
Okay.
And so, you put it in, it melts on the outside, you turn it upside down, you take it off, and it's all la la. This did not work for me. It kind of just fell out in pieces.
Ew.
And the edges came unstuck, but the middle didn't. So I just scrape it out onto this plate.
You know what? At this point, I would probably not even try it myself. I'd be like, fuck it. I'm not.
My youngest kid is watching me do this, and he has this look on his face like, oh my God, like what the fuck is this? Because I'm pretty sure I'm making the same look like, oh my God, what the fuck was I thinking? And so this mass of lychee fruit gelatin is just kind of lumped on this plate.
Yeah.
I look at my youngest son and I say, "You want dessert?" And he's like, "I'll try a small bowl." So,
He's so kind.
he's so nice. So he takes a scoop and he's eating it and he's like, "Yeah, this is not my favorite." And I was like, "No, it looks pretty gross too." And he's like, "Yeah."
So did the Sprite give it any kind of flavor?
It wasn't good at all. And I think it was in my messing up of the gelatin recipe. I think
Yeah.
I watered it down too much. So then the
Oh.
gelatin really didn't have any flavor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's just terrible. But the best part is my older son comes racing up the stairs. "Oh, what? No fair. He's already eating dessert." And I was like, "Yeah, come get your big old bowl of disappointment." I have this shaky spoon of slop next to this bowl and he like stops dead in his tracks and he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Dessert, honey. Come eat up." So I've now since put away the adventures in cooking in case it might infiltrate any thought I might have into turning something into a jello ever again.
Well, I can
No.
still recommend the sunshine salad because it's very
Yes.
good. But no lychee
No lychee fruits.
in Jello.
No.
I love that story. So good.
Ugh.
And this is one time I'm glad you didn't share with us because we would have had to try to find something nice to say. It's not my favorite.
It's not my favorite. Aaron taught me how to say that.
My kids too.
It's how I deal with criticism best in my house.
Yes.
It's gross and yucky, but you don't have to say this looks like gross and yucky.
Kids and their honesty.
Yes. Okay, Sarah, you must have a story to finish us off.
I do. So when you brought this up, my memory jogged down a lane from a long, long time ago. So I had to write a few notes down because this was from, I had pre-kids, pre-marriage. I was engaged to the now husband.
Forever ago.
We were in great shape. We lived in a nice condo. The color under my eyes wasn't bluish and purplish and like a big puffy
don't
mess.
even start.
We're playing house as a fairly new couple. You remember those times, right?
Uh-huh.
Everyone's perfect. Everything's perfect. Things were still the same. He was still not putting his laundry away into the laundry basket, but then I would pick it up lovingly and put it away because, it was my
was
silly little,
new.
the husband, and it was cute. So we're playing house and I'm starting to cook more. This is when my cooking journey really started revving up, right? Not as much as I do now because we still went out and ate a lot and those things that they call, remember date nights? Remember those?
Remember restaurants?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I was starting to realize that I had a passion for cooking. So, we're starting to mature. And you'll get the sense from this story because this story takes place on Friday night. And usually on Friday night, the husband and I would be out partying. But this Friday night, my husband was going to go play a tennis game. And I was going to stay home and have dinner made by the time he got home.
You domestic diva, you.
Look at me, right? and looking good at the same time. So I wear this cute little black and white checkered retro apron that I bought from Anthropologie. And I don't know if you've shopped at Anthropologie, but they have these amazing outfits, but with a really high price tag.
Yes.
I put on my pretty little apron. I wish my husband a good game. And I inform him that dinner will be ready by the time he gets home. And he goes, "Oh, sweetie, what are you making?" And I'm like, "Oh, honey, I'm making calzones for dinner." And he's like, "Ooh, that sounds delicious." So he leaves. I then take off my apron because I'm not freaking staining that damn expensive thing.
Yeah.
And proceed to fill some dough with like cheese and pepperoni and mushrooms and green peppers and all the stuff we like in a calzone or on a pizza.
Of course.
And then I go to crimp the dough. And I think these weird, pretty shape things started a long time ago and I didn't realize, but I start to crimp the dough in this pretty sort of that normal calzone half moon shape. But, I want to make it extra pretty. So I use my blunt knives, and I say blunt because I owned blunt knives. I didn't know much about cooking then. And I had spent all my money on the apron. So that's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to shape my calzone. And then I also should mention that I managed to polish off half a bottle of Shiraz all by myself.
That's probably an important point. to the story.
Critical step.
My drink of choice at that time. And my blunt knife slips and
Oh,
it cuts a
no.
small chunk off my left index finger.
Oh no.
I'm knee deep in the wine. I feel no pain. But because I am knee deep in the bottle, it's quite the bleeder.
Oh.
But no issue. My calzones are not affected by this situation. They're all ready to
Okay.
go into the oven, and they go into the oven. I go to the washroom and I wash off the cut. I wrap a Kleenex around it because that's all I can find at that point. And then I try to one-handedly put on my anthropology apron because my dinner date is almost home, right? And I have to look good.
Keep up appearances.
Keep up appearances. So this was quite a while ago, so I don't remember all the details, but I will never forget the look on C's face when he got home. So in the distractions of cleaning the cut and my vanity,
Oh no.
I had forgotten that my calzones were sitting in a very, very hot oven for a little
shit.
too long.
Oh, no.
Okay. He walks in after his game, excited about dinner, smoke alarms on, smoke everywhere.
Oh,
My left arm is raised up in the air as blood was dripping down to the elbow.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm trying to keep this cool, calm. I have everything under control smile on my face with my pretty apron on. And all I said at this point, and all I could say was, "Oh, honey, you're back already. Great timing. Dinner's ready." And you know what? If you look at my index finger, like the outer part of my index fingers, the left one is less rounded than the right one.
Oh,
You have the
man.
scar to prove it. So obviously your husband stuck around, so it was okay in
He
the
stuck
end.
around. And it was funny because, you know, he's always still is nice about, because mishap happen all year round, every year. But when that one happened, we still ate the calzones.
Oh,
He just said it had a strong, smoky flavor to it.
smoky. That's a very nice way. to
Isn't
put
that
it.
a nice way? You know, and you know what? He would still eat mishaps that happen he would still eat it, but maybe he might not sugarcoat it as much anymore. That might be the difference. But
He knows who's cooking for him. He knows.
yeah,
Well, that was a lot of fun.
it was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, guys.
And more to come, I'm sure, because
Yes.
there is no end of failing happening in my kitchen.
And in mine.
Me too. Join us again for 3 Kitchens.
Bye.
And now for the fine print. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at 3 Kitchens Podcast. Feel free to leave us a comment or a suggestion for future episodes. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you like and subscribe, that helps more people find us.
Mom.